Hey everybody, Courtney Rowland and Mark Passwaters here with the Aggie Yell F Word Meaning Football podcast. A&M comes off of a road loss to South Carolina. 3 suspensions to players indefinitely, I do believe. And just, a lot of things that just aren't going right for Texas A&M right now. Mark, Where do we begin? I guess let's just start with the latest hot topic, which was the 3 suspensions. What all happened there?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, not everything has come out. I doubt everything will come out, but from what we've learned, or at least 3 of the freshmen were vaping in the locker room, but not just vaping regular stuff. Apparently, it was marijuana. So, yeah, that's not good. And apparently, they were turned in by their teammates and were promptly suspended. Now, for 2 of those guys, Chris Marshall and Denver Harris, that's suspension number 2 in 7 games. And the serious question becomes, how much are you going to put up with?
Right.
And that's not just the coaches, that's the other players. I think that both of those guys are on thin ice with their teammates and their coaches. And, they may be short timers. Wouldn't surprise me if they were.
Weren't they suspended indefinitely?
Yeah, but what is indefinite? We don't know. So, I mean, it could be a game. It could be the rest of the season. But I think that the lack of respect shown, if all this is accurate, the lack of respect being shown to their coaches and their teammates, it can't go over well in a locker room. It just doesn't work. And the reaction that you're seeing from players getting on Twitter or online and saying, I'm locked in, I'm here, let's go. I mean, that's not just reiterating their support of the program, but telling the other guys, the heck with you. So, it's frustrating. It's disappointing because you're talking about guys with a lot of talent, but, sometimes just talent doesn't matter. I mean, you can be a poison in the locker room and have all the talent in the world. People aren't going to want to play with you.
Right. And, so what does this boil down to? Because, we both know Jimbo Fisher, and I feel like he's a pretty, straight-laced type of person. So what does this boil down to? Why are we having all of this? Are these guys who just have an ego out the roof and think that because they're 5 stars can come in and do whatever they want like they did in high school?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Look at it. Jimbo is a straight-laced guy, and until now he has run a tight ship at A&M. He did not run a tight ship at FSU. Let's be clear with that. When he went out and he recruited some high caliber talent, some of those guys blew up in his face because they were just bad acts. I think that happens everywhere. I mean, when you go out and you just stack one 5-star on top of another, one of 2 things is going to happen. It may be 2 things happen. 1, you're going to have tremendous talent. 2, you're going to have some guys that other guys just can't stand, that are just disruptive presences in the locker room. And that's not exclusive to A&M. This moronic incident is exclusive to A&M for now, so far as we know. But, the problems with talented players doing stupid things and being poisonous into a locker room environment, that is not exclusive to A&M. It's not exclusive to Jimbo Fisher, and it never will be. But it's just
the national media set them up for this, not set them up for this, but so much hype going towards Texas A&M. This is all these expectations, and every national media member want the epic fall of a program just to show it in the media. That just seems like it was almost.
Well, these guys as well as I do, and there are quite a few sadists or masochists, I guess you could say, in the national ranks. I find a number of them to be completely unlikable. And yeah, they wanted to get off on this. Some of them haven't liked Jimbo since he was at FSU, and they're going to gloat. the full information is not a requirement for them. You know, what's the matter for them? They show up one time, they get yelled at, they leave. They don't come back until next year. You know, for us, it's a different story. You know, we got to know what's going on because we're going to be seeing these guys week after week. But yeah, I mean, it's just another thing in a bad series of situations. And the only positive I can take away from it really is, you know, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. You know, feel the pain right now so you don't have to feel a bunch of separate instances later on. So do what you got to do to improve the offense. Do what you got to do to improve the locker room. Do what you got to do to improve the offensive line. Take your slings and arrows now and be better next year. I mean, because hey, let's look at LSU in 2019. A&M beats them in 2018. They were a good team, but not a great team. And Ed Orgeron was accused of, you know, wasting that talent. Goes out, goes get, you know, swallows his pride, gets Joe Brady, changes the offensive scheme, kaboom, off they go. Then Ed Orgeron gets too big for his britches, decides he's a genius, and things collapse back to where they were. You know, hopefully, you know, the changes will have the same results as 2019 did for LSU without 2020, 2021, and so forth. But, you know, things have got to change. I think that's obvious.
Well, so what do you think you changed first? Is it the offensive line coach? Is it someone coming in to call the offensive plays? Like, what's got to change first, or maybe all of it?
All of it. You know, you can't do it. You can't really do it right now, and that's the frustrating thing, because
everyone wants results now.
Everybody wants this done with. They want it changed. Right. I mean, yeah, you could fire Steve Addazio tomorrow, and then who's going to be replacing Louis, his son? You know, and that's not a slap at Louis. It's just saying nothing's going to change because they've invested in this mindset, this scheme that the Addazios are beholden to, that they run. So that's a problem. You know, you can't go out and get a new coordinator tomorrow that's worth a hoot, and you can't just take this scheme, throw it out, and go down to brass tacks in week 8 of the football season. You can't do it. You just got to kind of limp your way through, and you know, when it's done, move as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah. I'm reading one of the guys on the message board, Jeff MC, 3 of the top offensive schemes out there and what they do to get more open looks than A&M, ? I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, he's trying to figure out, that's a very subtle way, Jeff, of trying to ask who the next offensive coordinator is going to be. And I keep on saying, I'm not going there right now. I have some ideas. I have some names.
Can you throw us a hint?
No, I'm not going to do that yet, because these are guys that currently have jobs and, you know, probably fairly close to Texas, if not in Texas. And that's as far as I'm going to go in terms of hints. You know, because I don't want this getting out there and these schools saying, oh, well, you know, we need to watch this a little more closely. You know, do they know? Probably. But if they don't, then the last thing I would want to do is sit there and say Texas A&M has an interest in XYZ, and then school, you know, school of current employer, you know, is like, what?
Yeah, and then it all blow up. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, let's not do that. You know, we get closer to the end of the year. You know, we'll talk about it at length. But you know, it's a little different with coordinators than it is with head coaches. Because who do the head coaches answer to? They answer the athletic director and the university president. And, you know, they can basically tell everybody else, screw you. You know, coordinators, different story. They still got a boss directly in their face every day. So, you know, you don't want to jeopardize their current situation and possibly mess up what could happen later on by sitting here and blabbing about it.
Right. So this weekend, Ole Miss coming to town, 6:30 p.m. game. right in the middle of the Astros. So hopefully A&M makes everybody happy. But anyways, Haynes King or Connor Weigman? Who are we going to see start?
Connor Weigman. I'm pretty sure of that.
All right.
You
is
can't.
That King still hurt?
Well, you can't run him back out there. I mean, after you popping out his throwing shoulder, whether you wanted to make a move or not, the move's made for you.
Right.
We've seen guys go out there with the week after shoulder separations. Kyle Allen. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss. The beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Jimbo would even think about doing that.
And honestly though, Weigman, like that last drive down the field to try and bring A&M back, like I was pretty impressed with it. Like,
I was impressed with the velocity for sure.
Yeah.
And he was willing to sit in there and take a lick. And unfortunately, with this pitiful offensive line, that's what he's going to need to do. Yeah. But let's face it, there's more to it than this. You got to see what he's got. And if this kid is the future, you're not going to a New Year's Six Bowl. If this guy is the fellow that you think may be your quarterback for 2023 and beyond, let's get him out there and see what he can do.
Yeah. And when it comes to Haynes King, whether it's our message boards or Twitter or whatever, he hasn't gotten the best rap, which clearly A&M in general has not. But I guess I want to hear what your thoughts are about that. Because to me, it's a guy that's gone out there, Haynes King, and has given it everything he has gotten beat up. Back when COVID was happening, he was sitting in the back of his truck watching practice. Back when he had, the leg, sitting out there trying to throw on one foot, like a guy who really does not want to ever give up. So I guess I just want to hear your thoughts. And then, the fans' opinion seems to kind of be a little lopsided and maybe they don't see it all.
No, I don't think they do. Either that or they just don't respect what he's trying to do. Right. I mean, nobody in the country has been knocked down more than Haynes King. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's repeated. I mean, statistically speaking, A&M has given up the most pressures of a quarterback of any team in FBS. That's pitiful. So Haynes has taken a beating. Max took a beating. But Haynes King took A&M down the field at Alabama, getting knocked down every single play with an ankle injury and a cracked rib. And got him within 2 yards of winning. I mean, the guy has not met my expectations. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's met a lot of people's expectations. He still makes mistakes. There's still paralysis by analysis, but he doesn't deserve the whipping that he's taken.
Right.
On the field and off. The guy busts his butt. He has the respect of his teammates. There are moments of, where he flashes and you're like, okay, there it is. That's what Jimbo sees. Right. And I hate the fact that people, and this happens with other players. There's always somebody on every team that gets whipped by the fans, right, unless they're unbeaten. I mean, it's like they just pick somebody out and that's who they're going to hate. And I despise that.
Right. That's what I see in the NFL, I didn't think that was Texas A&M. And as far as baseball goes, we saw how well that worked for the Yankees, right? When their fans are booing their players, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't Aggie-like to me.
No, well, it's not just an Aggie thing. It's a reality thing. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
These are still kids. They are being paid now. That ups the ante. They're young adults, but still, they're in college. There's a lot of things that they're doing in their lives. They got to go to class. They've got to practice. They got to lift weights. They got to go to study hall, They got to do this, that, and the other. Then they go out there and they're in front of 100,000 people, and Joe Schmo expects perfection. And for a lot of people, they've invested a lot of money, so I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the difference is that we're around it all the time. We know
Right.
these guys, and it makes it sting a little more. Well, actually, a lot more. You know, when you know these players and you know their parents and you know what they're going through, you know, it makes it different. And you know, let's face it, A&M quarterbacks now have a very high standard to which they're held. Everybody wants them to be Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not, they get hammered.
Right.
You know, Allen got it. Kellen got it. Haynes got it. Calzada got it. Max was getting it. Welcome to the party, Connor, because you're up. And I think that for a while there's going to be a honeymoon because a lot of people are really excited because they see the similarities, and he's a 5-star. But the first time he makes a bad interception, people are going to jump on it.
And you know, but like everyone always says, a quarterback's only as good as their offensive line, and I mean,
Well, I mean, that's the cold reality of it. I mean, Haynes has thrown some bad balls and they've been picked off, but you know, schematically speaking, opponents know what's coming. And you know, you make a bad throw and they're already anticipating it, you're in trouble.
right.
But you know, like I said, this is the most pressured bunch of quarterbacks in all of FBS. He got knocked down 3/4 of the times he dropped back to pass against Alabama.
Right.
South Carolina can't put a pass rush on their kids, and they knocked him down 2/3 of the time.
Right.
I mean, it's pitiful. And, you know, people don't put that, you know, that piece of the puzzle together. You know, I hate to use David Carr as an example.
Mm-hmm.
David Carr was going to be a very good NFL quarterback, and he got broken by a crap offensive line.
I mean, that's a great example.
You know, it got to the point where he heard footsteps. And when that happens, it's just not going to work.
Right.
You know, Jim Everett's another guy. You know, this is going back way far for you, but he was a quarterback with the Rams, and the Rams got real close to winning the NFC, going up against the 49ers juggernaut, and they got to the NFC Championship game. The 49ers just blitzed the hell out of him. And by the end of that game, he was just falling because he heard the footsteps. And, you know, these quarterbacks have so much going on, and they have so much going through their mind. And they're sitting there dropping back to pass, and they're thinking, I have so much time. And then they get absolutely smoked from behind.
Yeah.
You know, that's tough. I mean, it hurts. And those guys have played through pain that we wouldn't even fathom. I mean, you know, I remember the Auburn game when Johnny got hurt and separated his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And he went under the stands at Old Kyle Field, and he's like, just give me a shot. Give me a shot. I'm going back in. And I mean, just guts. And then Kyle Allen playing that stupid game against Ole Miss in 2015. Guts. Trevor Knight coming back against LSU when he had broken ribs a year later. Guts. Kellen played hurt repeatedly. You know, Calzada last year. All these guys just take a beating, and that's behind good offensive lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's going on? You know, we know the results for Max. His season's over. You know, what's King is taking a beating. You know, now you got to play Weigman for two reasons. One, you got to see what you have for the future. But two, he's the only guy standing.
Yeah. So what? I mean, I'm not even going to go there. That's bad juju to even say what happens if
Eli Stowers happens. That's what happens.
Anyways, well, okay. So another question we have is, at this point in the season, is there any way that you can move forward, I guess pleased or positive about this team, whether it be right now or at the end of the season, moving into the off season? Is there any way that we can be positive about this team, whether it be the team, the coaching staff, recruiting?
Yeah, I think so. Secondary's been real good.
Mhm.
Jalen Jones has been great. Jamani Richardson's been great. Jordan Gilbert's been great. You know, Jalen Jones and Jordan Gilbert will be back next year. You should have virtually everybody back on the defensive line, which hasn't played terribly. It's just it's had two problems. One, it's they're still not fitting the run well, and two, they were asked to run it for 3 weeks. They're asked to run a scheme they're not ready for, or they're not designed for it. Let me put it that
Mhm.
way. But I mean, we've seen flashes of real good stuff from Walter Nolan and McKinley Jackson and Fadil Diggs, uh, Shamar Turner, for that matter. All
Mhm.
those guys are going to be back. Uh, Chris Russell, I would love to see him take another year if he would. Uh, I think Edrin Cooper will be back. No reason for him to leave. You're going to have all five guys on the offensive line once healthy. They'll all be back. And I think that they can do better, if they're listening to a different voice. Donovan Green has shown that he's legit. Let's see, what else is there? Evan Stewart has played really well. Moose Muhammad's broken out. There's a chance Anias comes back. There are pieces there.
What about
And
I don't know if I'm saying it. A-Chain?
yeah,
Just
I don't know if he's going to come back or not. I would, to be perfectly
Mhm.
honest. I think that the big thing for A-Chain is simply that this is a incredibly good running back class, and running back is still discounted by the NFL.
Mhm.
So there aren't going to be many first round draft picks. Bijan Robinson may be one, but most of these guys are going to be second, third, fourth round picks, and he'd just get thrown into that mix. And I think that he would be undervalued.
Yeah.
So I would definitely come back and see if
For
I could do more next year with an improved offensive line, more
right.
stability at quarterback, stuff like that. So
You're talking about A-Chain.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
At the beginning of the season, I heard radio guys here in Houston, John McClain, saying that he would see A-Chain go first round, but that was at the beginning of the season. And now you continue to go forward, and it's like he has nothing to show because, like you said, the
yeah,
offensive line.
yeah. I mean, he's not as explosive as he was in past years, and I just think a lot of that is he hasn't had the opportunity
Right.
to be explosive.
100%. Yeah.
So
But
I I would definitely come back if I were him.
okay, so our last question, transfer portal. Um, who do you is are there people thinking about transferring? Are we looking into the transfer portal ourselves? Who would want to transfer to A&M at this point? And who do you think might want to transfer out?
Well, I don't want to name names, but I think it's pretty obvious that there are going to be at least two that'll go in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I expect there will be more. Uh, you know, One running back has already been linked to it. I could see another looking at it similarly. Uh, there are guys who played early in the season that haven't since. At corner specifically, I could see those. There are a couple, three maybe guys there that could move. Uh, Wide receivers could go. Uh, I don't think you're going to see any of the quarterbacks move, but what else is there? I think that's about it. There are going to be some guys who leave.
Right.
Some are going to be looking for more playing time. Some just aren't going to feel like the fit is right, and some are going to be encouraged, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so last question from me. Astros win in how many?
You're talking to a guy who grew up a Phillies fan way back when.
Uh,
I was born outside of Philadelphia.
are you hoping for Phillies?
Oh, hell no. No, I hate all things Philadelphia.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
yeah. No. I'm thinking 6. It'll go 6.
Okay. So
And
they said that today on the radio. They and here in Houston was 6. Oh my goodness. I want it to be quicker because I will be flying home on game 6 from Charleston.
well, that's the thing. It's easy to say in 6. That's just a fallback. It's
Right.
like, yeah, I don't want to say one team's completely overmatched, so we'll just say they can win a couple of games. We'll go with 6.
I'm
I can see it. Who knows?
Yeah.
The World Series is a strange beast. Yeah.
so
So if one guy gets hot, that can make all the difference in the world. And somebody that we're not expecting, or maybe we are expecting and it just hasn't happened yet, is going to get hot. And that's going to change the entire dimension of this series. And I have 2 guys in mind that I would really like to see do that: Jose Altuve and Kyle Tucker. Because we know, we don't know anything, but we got a pretty good idea that Verlander and Fromber and Javier are going to go out there and they're going to pitch well. They're going to hold the Phillies down for the most part. But the Phillies are a powerful team. Schwarber and Harper and Hopkins and guys like that, they can all run into one. So
Yeah.
you got to get everything going at the same time. The Astros, in spite of the fact that they have been perfect so far in the postseason, really haven't gotten everything going. They haven't had their full mojo in a single game yet.
Right.
So if they can get all the pieces of the puzzle going and they're already pitching the way they are, it's going to be real tough for the Phillies to win this thing.
I agree. Well, let's just hope, since we will be working the A&M game, that the Astros win on Saturday night and that the Aggies make everyone happy. So let's just hope for the best. Anyways,
Yes.
I'll end it with the way Pena always ends it. With a
And I
heart.
will end it with wishing everyone a happy Halloween.
Well, Mark, we appreciate it. This has been Mark Passwaters and Courtney Rowland with the F Word Podcast as we lead into Ole Miss.
Bye.
Awesome.